Hi guys, how you doing? In this video we want to learn how to use unless in English. Unless is a conjunction which is used in conditional sentences to dictate a condition. Unless is used in conditional sentences, as I said, and it means except if. Unless you are ruthless and hard-hearted, you can't throw my presents in the trash. It means except if you are ruthless, except if you're hard-hearted, you can't throw my presents in the trash. Next, unless you fasten your seatbelt, the risk of injury is high. It means if you don't do it, if you don't fasten your seatbelt. Except if you fasten your seatbelt, the risk of injury is high. So it means except if you don't do it. The next one. Unless the test is not tomorrow, put off the group study. Now pay attention to the point that this sentence is dictating a conditional sentence. It's a real conditional sentence. It's not unreal. So pay attention to the type of the conditional sentence that you are reading. Unless the test is not tomorrow, except if the test is also, we can replace it with if not. If the test is not tomorrow, put off the group study. Put off means postpone, delay the group study. Unless the new coach has been specified, the team can't prepare itself for the championship. And bear in mind that if the conditional clause is the first clause, like this sentence, we separate this clause with a comma from the main clause. Here's the main clause and here's the conditional clause. We separate them from each other. We use present tense when talking about future. We use present tense. We never use will. For example, I say, unless it rains, I'll pick you up at 6. Unless it rains. I never say, unless it will rain. Wrong. Unless will, wrong. Unless present, simple present. Unless I grow my muscle weight, I will have to tighten my baggy clothes. I have some baggy clothes, and unless I grow my muscle weight, if that doesn't happen, I have to tighten my baggy clothes. I'm talking about future. This is something that is going to happen in the future, and I don't use will unless I grow my muscle weight in the future. Until the time, it has not happened yet, but unless I do that, I will have to loosen my baggy clothes. So it's something that is going to happen in the future, but I don't use will with unless. Next one. Unless I have a spurt of energy, I won't be able to do any of my homework. So I need to have a spurt of energy, and this is a condition that is referring to future. I want to do my homeworks and I need a spurt of energy. I need a lot of energy to do that. If I don't have that, I'm not going to do my homeworks. So unless I have a spurt of energy, and I don't use a will when I'm talking about something is going to happen in the future. More examples. Unless the novelist concludes the last chapter this week, we won't be able to publish the book by the end of this month. Yeah, talking about future, but the novelist have to conclude the last chapter this week. If he doesn't do that, or she doesn't do that, the main clause won't happen. The main clause, we won't be able to. This action of publishing the book by the end of the month won't happen. Unless and if not, most of the time they have similar meanings. In real condition, they have always the similar meaning in real condition. For example, this drug will go on sale in US unless harmful side effects are reported. they're gonna sell this drug in the US unless harmful side effects are reported. If harmful side effects are not reported, if there are no report, they receive no reports saying that these drugs have side effects. So unless and if not here have similar meanings. Unless our company is able to raise enough money, it will have to close down, it will have to shut down. If our company is not able to raise enough money, we will have to close down. Unless he is thorough, he is a thorough chess player, he will have to lose. He will lose the championship. Unless he is a thorough chess player. If he is not a thorough chess player, real condition and unless and if not have similar meaning here. More examples. Unless he is perspective geologist. He is a perspective geologist. Unless he is a perspective geologist, he won't differentiate the fake gems from the real ones. If he is not a perspective geologist, if not, he won't differentiate. The differentiate means to distinguish the fake gems and the real ones. Gem, a precious stone. Unexpected if clauses. We cannot use unless when we are talking about something that made us, for example, surprised or we didn't expect it. The teacher gets surprised if her students answer her questions instantaneously. If her students answer her questions instantaneously. We don't use unless here. We don't use unless. Whenever in the main clause there's an element of surprise, something unexpected happens, we don't use unless. It would be frustrating if we spent all our weekend doing homework. It would be frustrating if I want to talk about something that is not expected. It would be frustrating if we spend all our weekend doing homework. It would be frustrating if we spend all our weekend doing homework. The movie was nail-biting, so I got shocked if anyone in the crowd would say they were bored. The movie was nail-biting, full of stress, made me nervous, made me on edge. I got shocked, so I got shocked if anyone in the crowd would say that they were bored because the movie was not boring at all. And it's weird if someone come and tell that we will both to tears. In questions, we don't use unless. We don't use unless in questions. How will you punish your children if they don't behave properly? If I made a cake, would you be a taste tester for my recipe? Please, would you? If I made a cake, we don't use unless with questions. More. If we use water for gardening, will our supply of sweet water dwindle? Dwindle means decrease. I want to use water for gardening, but if I do that, I want to ask a question. Will our supply of sweet water dwindle? Would you have done that foolish thing if you hadn't have to? Would you have done that foolish thing if you haven't had to? Unreal position conditions. Now we want to talk about unreal conditions, but the first one when the main clause is positive. Unless is preferred. If not is preferred to unless in unreal conditions. If we hadn't won the game, our fans would have got disappointed in us. If the main clause is positive, the main clause here, if it's positive in unreal condition sentences, we don't use unless in the conditional clause. So in unreal conditional clauses, we mostly use if not rather than unless, and we always use if not if our main clause is positive. Next one. Now in negative unreal conditions, if main clause is negative, she wouldn't have shied away from a direct challenge. Here we have a negative main clause. In this situation, we can use both if not and unless in the conditional clause. So both if not and unless is correct for the first sentence. Unless they had criticized the leadership, she wouldn't have shied away from a direct challenge. Shy away means avoid. Shy away means avoid with shyness. The next sentence, unless they had criticized the leadership. As you see, both if not and unless is correct, and the situation is unreal. They had criticized, it means they hadn't. Nobody had criticized the leadership, but if they have done, these things happen. Next one, more examples. Unless its price was cheaper, I wouldn't buy that leather jacket. Unless its price was cheaper, I wouldn't buy that leather jacket. The situation is unreal, the condition is unreal. The price wasn't cheap, obviously, and I didn't buy the leather jacket, so it's completely unreal. And the main clause is negative, so we can use unless here. Unless its price was cheap, I wouldn't buy that leather jacket. Both unless and if not are correct. If the price was not cheap, I wouldn't buy that leather jacket. Unless you remind the widow of her late husband, she won't break down as she did last time. So we remind the widow of her late husband, and she broke down in tears. And this time, if you don't do this, unreal, she won't. So this is an unreal situation, and we can use unless. Unless he was clumsy, he'd be the best person to do the work. So he is clumsy. He is. Unless he was. If he wasn't. So this is an unreal situation. And in the main clause, the concept is negative, so we can use unless. And we can use unless for afterthoughts. And in afterthoughts, we don't use if not. I'm going to leave the meeting unless she turns up in a minute now. Yes, I'm going to leave. If she comes, I'll stay. So unless she turns up, she shows up in a minute now. I would recommend stock photography, which is sparingly used for marketing, unless you insist. Unless you insist. This is an afterthought that comes to my mind. Unless you thought. Or in conversations, this candidate won't stand any electoral prospect. Someone else says, unless we support him. Unless we support him. So this is an afterthought coming in. And the last one, I would like to pawn your advice, unless you have given me erroneous information. Unless you have, this is something that comes to my mind immediately and I say it. Unless you have given me erroneous information. Studying a new language will give you a wider perspective. Unless you don't understand properly. Unless you don't understand properly. This is something that coming to my mind and I'm immediately saying it. So this was for now. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you have learned many